we are recording. So, all right. So we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6:30. Please call roll.
Mark?
Yes.
Patty? Yes. Joan?
Yes.
Janina?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes. So we do have a quorum. So item number 2 on the consent agenda, public hearing regarding application by OK Deer Feed and Supply for approval of use by review permitting a private parking lot at 402 North Main Street. So at this time, we will open the floor for public hearing. Being any conversations from anyone on the floor?
If there's any, yeah.
Hearing no comments, we will close the hearing and move on to item number 3 on the consent agenda. Consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve use by review requested by OK Deer Feed and Supply permitting a private parking lot at 402 North Main Street.
This was a vacant lot, or is a vacant lot, directly north of their establishment.
22 North Main.
Yeah.
It's where you're storing all that stuff right now?
Yes.
And is that zoned commercial?
It's zone commercial, and our code requires a special use permit, basically, to have a parking lot. We've posted it, sent mailers out. We have heard no negative response.
Any discussion about,
Is there,
does it require any?
is it just for parking, or is it gonna, like right now, this, it's used as storage, is it still gonna be?
It'll be a little, we'll change it up from time to time, you know, parking or, you know, to store plants or seating or whatever necessary. We might add a building in future things for later on down the road, but we'll bring that to discussion if we go any further with that.
Any other discussion?
Is there nothing in the code that says prohibits storage of equipment in a parking lot?
No. And it will have to be hard surfaced.
That was going to be,
The applicants are aware of that.
well, that was one of my questions, but I was saving it for the site plan.
It's on there.
Okay, then
I
I
think
guess.
right now it's just whether we are going to permit a parking lot there.
Right.
And we're not looking at a site plan right now. It's
Right.
just
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Did you hit the button?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Sorry.
You're good. So,
Sarah,
we need a motion. We need a motion to
Motion
approve it and
approve.
recommend approval of the site plan?
Yeah.
Or, recommend approval of the use by review request. Yeah.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve the request. I second it.
Mark?
Yes.
Patty? Yes. Joan?
Yes.
Janina?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Because those cars, it's hard to find parking space in that piece.
Item number 4 on the consent agenda, public hearing regarding application for approval of the site plan by OK Deer Feed and Supply for expansion at 402 North Main Street. At this time, we will open the public hearing for any comments or discussion from the floor. Hearing none, we will close the public hearing and move on to item number 5, which is consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve the site plan for OK Deer Feed Supply expansion at 402 North Main Street.
I don't know if you want it up here, up there, or down here. Quentin, you can come up and speak if they have any questions, but it's been reviewed by staff. There's not much to it. It's a parking lot, so there's not a whole lot to.
So this is to scale perfectly too, so we found the borders, I think we're 50 feet from the center line here to our property line. Here we've got from the center of the street, I believe it's 40 feet to our property line, as you can see. There's plenty of extra room here. So what we want to do is, obviously we've got gravel down now, we need to cover that with a good asphalt surface to make it look good and clean. And then we've got the pergola we was wanting to install just for decoration. You know, it is a greenhouse garden area. It'll be I've got photos if you'd like to see what that can look like. And then, you know, we would like to do a really clean AstroTurf, maybe put some picnic tables out just to have a place if somebody's You know, and we will, you know, keep insurance and stuff if anybody's walking down the street and there's an accident, stuff like that as well, you know, to make sure.
So how many parking spaces do you have in there?
Well, right now, we're real tight, we don't have no parking spaces, so we're trying to, you know, most people will line up here, you know, and then we would like to, on a second plan here, I believe I have it down here, on the next approval, we would like to add asphalt here and then put some slanted in parking as well for the future. You know, if we decide to, let's say we have a trade days or something, or the town parade, we'd like to be able to allow somebody to come up and put a food truck for that weekend, or bring to option for us to do something really nice, kind of like, I don't know if you all have seen that up on Duck Street in Stillwater, the Aspen Coffee Shop is really nice. We would like to bring something like that to town, either find out how we do it for a high-class coffee bagel shop kind of deal, something to bring to the city. You know, and until then, obviously, we would allow somebody that wanted to come up, maybe the snow cone company or a different, somebody that would want to, we'll have power here. And in my site plan, it's got a pole right here. This is what this, the electric company recommended me to put a power pole over here out of the way. Back in the day, you could just come right down the pole, but they don't want to do that, so they want to put a pole here. So then anything from here would be underground, and it would have a licensed electrician, would have an electrical box that meets city code. You all, your inspector could come out and look at it as well. And then that way, if we did have somebody come up here, we could also have seating, picnic tables and stuff for people together.
Okay, so,
This is sidewalk, I think it here.
Yes, that's the sidewalk where it stands right now, existing, so everything's to code.
so you're actually, this is phase one?
Yes, this
Doing
is phase
this
one,
part?
and this is just mainly so we're bringing everything up to code by making our storage parking lot, you know, with our plants or whatever, to have asphalt on it, so we can get that
And then
done.
you're gonna add the parking
In phase two.
At some point.
Yeah.
Would that require us to come back again?
No, because
I
it's
don't.
already be approved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't.
And everything's plenty away. You can see our property lines here, way away from everything. Our neighbor too, we want to keep her very happy over there. And this right here wouldn't be parking, this would just be for driving around if they have a food truck or something, so.
Is there anything in the code as far as the asphalt itself, or thickness or anything like that, or?
It would just be the general standards.
Yeah, we'll want to do it right, we'll have to do it again for sure. And we've got a really good base underneath right now, so.
Yeah.
So this, it sounds like parking is secondary to what you're really planning on doing. Is that?
Yeah, so it's not really as much of a parking spot, you know, I mean, people will use it, so they're not parking in the street, because we try to keep the street freed up as much as we can. But our store over here doesn't have, we've got two parking spots, this is our main parking, so usually anybody that's parking over here is me and my wife, or my mom, she'll move her truck over here, so that we have two parking spots open across the street, so.
And the site plan doesn't specifically mention parking, so the use by review was for permitting private parking at that location, so.
Yeah, staff has had numerous conversations about there is no provision in our code to address exactly this, so we landed on parking lot.
But do we have the right to, for an SUP, to ask them to require things on an SUP? Are you
Let me
gonna,
look while you talk.
what kind of lighting are you gonna have in here?
Well, right now, there is no lighting. This pergola, we will, like I said, from our pole, will run power underneath this parking lot, under the ground. And I've already had everything checked. There is absolutely nothing, no power lines, nothing under the ground here.
Right.
So it will have a, to your all's code standard, a
Right.
breaker block box to be safe, and there'll just be lighting in there. But yes, this has no lighting at all.
And will that lighting be on 24 hours?
It can, no, it can be turned off every
Okay.
evening or whatever. You all have a real big city pole light right here, so
Right.
we can see the whole parking lot.
Well, that was my next question. Are you putting any other type of lighting in there? It's just for that?
Yes, it's all gonna stay
Okay.
natural the way it is right now.
We just put in lighting,
Yeah.
like right where that C is probably.
Since this is we have houses on this side, we have houses on this side, it should be a separation of use. So you know, a fence would be probably in order to separate those two uses.
Yeah. I mean, that's another fund that we haven't gotten, you know, into the budget yet, so obviously it'd be something we would have to add on in the future, because we haven't heard about a fence that we'd have to put up, especially because the neighbor over here, she's got a little bit of her house on my property by 2 feet. So out of respect, I know the lady pretty well over here, so she's very complimented of what we've done. She says you've made it look prettier, so, and I told her I would respect that, but at the same time, we would have to figure out something with her house. Right now, I don't think it's an issue, but
No, if she ever sells the property,
Yes.
it's gonna be an issue for her
Yes.
because it's across the property
Yes.
line. And she's gonna have to get that cleared to be
Yes.
able to sell the property. So probably some kind of lots.
yeah, and what the
Lot
wife and I,
split or something
the
there.
wife and I had talked about right here, so since we want to make it have that Aspen, you know, look, if we will, whatever building, if we ever do in the future, but, so yeah, so this is our boundary line. So we was, to be respectful to her, we don't need this area, so we were gonna talked about doing a split rail fence up to her building, you know, right here, and put, you know, some nice plants on it to give her a break from us.
It'd have to be, as a visual barrier, a split rail fence is not gonna do it.
Oh, I thought you just said split rail.
No,
Okay, what did you just say?
I said a split lot.
Split lot?
To get her portion of the house out of your property and onto hers.
Yeah, and if she wants to pay for any of that and have any of that done, I'm completely happy with that, if she wants to do that. But what we would probably do is, instead of doing that, we'd probably just bring the fence back on this side of our building and just run a
Oh,
straight
yeah.
fence, so, and she could just use our lot, you know what I'm saying? So we're not wanting to intrude on her at all, we want to be respectful to her.
All right.
And she actually mentioned that she wished that she would have sold us the land a long time ago. But we had,
Oh,
she
she
sold
did.
it to
She
somebody
was the-
else.
she
Yeah,
was
she
the
was the
owner
owner
at
of
one
this.
time.
And she
Okay.
sold it to the other neighbor, and the other neighbor held on to it for a long time, and we were wanting to grow, and she said, if it was mine, we'd sell it to you already.
Yeah,
So she's been
yeah.
real, she actually leaves her trash over here every day, and I roll it back for her and stuff, so we work
Okay.
real good together, so. And we'll be willing to adapt or whatever we got to.
The duty of the planning commission is to either approve or disapprove the site plan, not modify.
Oh dear, I think I'm gonna disapprove it. Well, if we can't modify this site plan, I have trouble approving it the way it is. Because we need that separation of uses. And
Does
I
the,
believe somewhere in there, it does say something about a.
Residential district.
Okay, just if it's residential district, it's not whether it is being used as residential.
No, it's under screening, which is what you're referring to, what you remember. On the property adjoining a residential district, there shall be provided an aesthetic visual barrier consisting of suitable natural or man-made material, which what he was talking about, may, depending on what it was, might fall into that. At least 75% opaque and not less than 5 feet in height. But that's a residential district.
And she's commercial as well.
Yes.
Yeah, along Main Street will be commercial. What about the one to the east?
That whole block is commercial.
Is it?
Yeah, on our map it is,
Okay.
on both sides. I've always wondered why they did that, but they did.
Okay.
All the way to First Street, on both sides of Main.
Well, I don't like it, but I guess I don't have a leg to stand on
No,
that.
Staff recommends approval. I don't think,
Here's your, this is the screening right here.
Oh, and it does say.
Yeah. It only mentions residential
Any
district.
adjoining property is being
So because it's commercial on either side, then really there's
fine.
no reason not to
We
approve it.
could,
well, I don't think there's a reason, in my opinion, there's not what she's talking about is a residential, if you, like, Williams Grocery Store would be a good example. The supposed fence that's behind Williams, was put in because that's commercial
It's a
district butting up to residential.
Right.
There is kind of a oxymoron here in what you were reading. That last sentence, it says, in the event adjoining property is being utilized for dwelling purposes at the time commercial development is proposed, screening shall be required.
That's true. So they would have to do a fence, or,
I'd like to interrupt this lady right here, who's our neighbor, so she's the one that lives there, so she would have a say too, you know, as far as if she would like to see a fence go right up against her property or not.
Well, she could have a
Just
say.
have a say, I just
Yeah.
want to introduce her. So,
So your recommendation is to,
I don't know, there's 5 parking spaces on the east side of that. And there's people
And
that
it's
are
a
gonna be
sig-
parking.
and it's
on-
what's the distance between where the expanded parking versus where the boundary line is?
there's a whole bunch. Yeah, you've got
There's a
Roughly
significant,
50 feet.
so there's a significant kind
50 or
of
70.
belt,
Yeah,
kind
so-
of there.
And if it, you know, I haven't had a quote on the asphalt yet, you know, so we would, you know, if it's something we can add right then, we'll just do it, you know, to make parking, you know.
yeah, these lots should be 140 deep, so it'd be
They're
70.
140, they're a lot longer lots than they are.
So there's a pretty significant space between the parking and what would be that residential space, even if it's not delineated by a fence. What do you think?
I mean, a fence is, we don't mind doing it at all, it's just gonna make it look even more crowded there.
But I'm sort of in agreement with that. Sometimes they don't provide aesthetically a good look, you know, and in looking what they're trying to do,
Yeah,
I'm
there's a
excited
mixture
with,
there.
yeah.
And if you're doing cedar, it's got a lot of maintaining on it to keep it from not looking bad every 2 years, you know, or whatever.
But
But it doesn't have to be a man-made structure, it could be like shrubbery or.
as long as it's 75% opaque, so they'd have to plant.
And at least 5 feet tall.
Which is probably more expensive than
That's
putting up a
true,
fence.
yeah.
Maybe not for them since they can do it themselves.
Well, I think what you've got on the site plan would be attractive and would be nice. And those 5 parking spaces are not that much, but still you are putting not all, you're still putting your
Product.
product, thank you, out there.
And then when we do the parking lot, our goal is to, obviously the ones by the road, the feeders that are by the road are gonna go away, and we're gonna push them back, because we got a lot of grass lot, because we want it to look open up front and have it more of a cleaner look, rather than we're not gonna be putting on the parking lot the deer feeders, they're gonna go in the grass to the back.
Oh, in the back.
Yeah, they're gonna be less noticeable, we're not gonna bring them out.
Okay.
Because when, like I said, if we add a coffee shop eventually, or let a food truck come in for a weekend, we don't want deer feeders up there, you know, we want it to look.
So Quentin, so you could have parking, this area would ostensibly be used for parking,
Yes,
depending on,
yes, this here will be,
The
anybody
arrangement
can
of-
pull up here and park, and right now, like I said, we've got feeders up front here, and then here, but my goal is to keep these from here back, you know, we'll never have any feeders up in here, it's all gotta stay from here back, because we're gonna have this pergola and this nice astroturf, it's gonna look really clean up here. And then my mom will have, you know, flowers and stuff, decorations to make it look nice, so.
So when you do add the parking there on the east, if you've got parking on the south,
Yeah, well.
what happens when the south is full of cars and,
If we do parking here, the reason for this is there'll have to be signage up front here, because this will be a drive-through, you know, if people
Right.
drive through, you know what I'm saying? saying?
Okay.
So, yeah, nobody can block that, you know?
Okay, okay.
The only reason this would be parking up front is if you don't do the expansion piece.
Yeah.
You'd
or just-
utilize it for
Yeah,
parking.
just people to get off the road so they're not
Right.
parking in the
Not
street.
parked in the street, right.
You know, so, right now, most people just pull up in a straight line right next to each other out of the way, and they don't get, the way we have it set up, they can't get out here to where anybody obstructs the stop sign view from looking left to right.
Right.
And it's worked great, the way we've done it, so. Right now, it's just kind of sitting over there crowded because we're held up until we can put the asphalt in.
Sure.
So, we didn't want to wreck the pergola or anything to make it look good, better.
Do you have a timeline to add the parking?
We can do it right now. I mean, the initial lot that's there, you know, I just gotta get some quotes on the asphalt.
Yeah, I think that's
okay.
what he was saying. Depending on the asphalt quote, they might be able to do the parking right now,
Okay.
but they don't know that until they get the quote. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. I love it the way it is. I really don't have a challenge with it.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I'm a little hamstrung because of what's in the code. I feel like it's keeping us from being able to say yes simply because that word that says required is in there. And that concerns me. And I don't want to put us in a spot to approve something and it's, I mean, I'm not trying to say no, but it clearly says if the adjoining property is being utilized for dwelling purposes at the time, screening shall be required. It's not even like we don't have any wiggle room. So, I
think I'll make a motion.
okay.
See if I can word it the way I want it.
Good luck.
I make a motion that we approve the site plan for 402 North Main Street. Providing that they provide the screening, which is 75% opaque, either vegetation or a fence, and that has to go in at the time of the parking lot. I mean, we can't put it off for like a year until,
Yeah, it's just, it is one thing that's not in the budget, and materials are high, and we've had 3 weeks of no profits. It's not getting product, so we'll do it.
And we're not trying to hamstring you at all, so.
no.
And two, we will have to figure out how to divide the lot, because
You know, where you put the
they've got
fence
some
is
of their
up to
buildings
you.
on our property, we don't wanna.
But if you want to put any of your product on the north side of the parking lot, you'll probably want to scoot that fence as far north as you can and as far east, but that was,
So she doesn't have an option if she wants to keep it open with a nice view. She has to look at a fence, that's the rule.
It doesn't have. Or screen,
sometimes screening.
some kind of screen.
Okay.
That's mine.
We have a motion. I just want to make sure you're done with that.
I
So.
think I am.
Any other discussion?
Should we have her read the motion back to us just to make sure it's,
Would you please?
How do you move to approve the site plan for 402 North Main Street?
Yeah.
And provide
Trying
screening,
to keep
which is
you-
75% opaque
Because we ain't got it
installed
all resurrected.
at the
It looks
time
good
of
over there,
parking lot
just waiting at
material.
the parking lot.
Time of the parking lot expansion, yeah.
They're requiring.
And we're talking that second piece, not the first piece. So that's what the motion is, right? So for those extra parking spaces, yeah.
Is there anything saying that it couldn't be part fence and then where the house, the residences have shrubbery there?
Yeah, it
It can
specifically
be
states,
vegetation, but it has to be 75%.
So it'd have to be evergreen.
opaque.
yeah.
Right,
Up
it'd
to
have
5
to be
foot,
evergreen.
that's very-
But that would be, she wouldn't have to look at fence.
Yeah, it says suitable natural or man-made material is what it says, so.
Yeah. So that. could-
There's a lot, it's really, you're open to pretty much
Yeah,
any
it's-
option
it's-
there to make it look nice, so. So we have a motion.
And if there's issues with the code, what this body has to do is go by the code that the commission adopted.
Yes.
The other option or the other manner is to, if two neighbors don't want a fence there, you could always approach the city commission
variance.
to change that code.
I
Can they
think
ask for a variance? Is there a board of adjustment here?
There is a board of adjustment.
No,
I
very.
just spoke
Go to
with,
that to get a variance.
as I said, we've had a great relationship, and she said if I want to park anywhere on her place, which we don't do that, but she doesn't want a fence, you know, so, because like I said, she wants to be able to see through there, so that'd be something we could approach.
I would say so, and I would recommend doing that with the commission.
But they can't
Yeah, we don't have that latitude,
authority.
unfortunately.
But we can bring that to,
I'll get with you.
So we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second. Call roll.
Mark?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Janita?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes. So moved. All right. Good job.
Thank you.
Well worded. And sorry for the trouble. I'm excited to see it go in. I think it's gonna be beautiful and a nice addition for Perkins, so it's really cool. So, item number 6 on the consent agenda, consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve planned use development for Lovers Lane Senior Living Development. Lovers Lane Senior Living Development. Is that the, just south of the church, that little?
Yes,
Is
south
that what
of
that
the
is?
church.
Oh, okay.
No, that's a duplex. That's a
That's what I was
separate
thinking. That
development.
was-
It's already
okay.
approved.
Oh, okay.
Stephen Gose and Katie Purdy from Gose and Associates Engineers are here, and they brought, well, I have it covered up. They brought the site plan and required documentation for the planned unit development, and I handed out a piece of paper that talks about the issues. Well, staff recommends approval. It's been engineered, obviously. It's been reviewed by the engineer we used to have, and it's been reviewed by fire code officials.
Is that, where is it located, right?
So the quick tour, Lovers Lane is on the east.
Uh-huh.
The apartments on the west side of Lovers are here. Carnes Circle's on the west, and Kinderwell's 7th section is on the north. Kinderwell's Boulevard is right here, so it's that remaining 4 acres.
They're north of the apartments.
North of the apartments. The drive to the apartments is right here. It's 4 buildings, 2 7-unit buildings, 2 6-unit buildings, primary access off of Carnes Circle, an emergency access out to Lovers, private drive in between. Most of the units have garages. There's a couple that don't. We're having to get the PUD approval because the code doesn't allow multiple buildings on one residential lot. And residential in the code covers everything from single-family residential to multifamily. So in lieu of platting this into 4 lots, we're asking for the PUD to approve the 4 buildings on 1 lot. And like Bob said, we've gone through engineering review and everything. What was it, back in December?
December 21 was when
December
the approvals
21st,
were,
we got
when
the
the plans were
engineering review.
approved.
The project is put on hold just with supply chain and workload. And they're ready to get started on it now.
So it's already zoned the multifamily, you're
It's just on residential, which residential allows all of those uses.
All of that, yeah.
So there won't be an entrance or exit except this emergency one?
Correct.
They'll have a
Gate or something?
There'll be like a gate, it'll either be hooked or have a little Knox box lock
So the
on it.
main entrance is here on Carnes Circle.
Correct.
Okay, are these one story?
They're single story, yeah, for rent. That's
They're all
the same.
3 the same. I didn't know how many copies to bring.
And do they,
It's just a.
It's all the same.
Same thing.
Patty.
do they have,
In a yard?
There'll be a little bit of front yard in the front and then in the back, there's doors that come out the back, so.
okay,
So those are green space in the back,
Th-
yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
this is all landscape, this is all landscape, and there's little pockets in the front.
oh, okay.
This will be a detention pond in the back, just a real shallow detention pond.
Is this like an alley?
Love it.
No, it's just a gap between the buildings. There's some water drainage
Okay.
in between.
Looks like you have utilities in there too.
Yeah, private
Sewer,
sanitary sewer
there.
and the electric.
Mhm.
you say?
I make a motion, we approve the UD recommendation to approve the feeding.
Second that.
Sorry,
Patty and,
Janita.
Mark,
yes.
Patty. Yes. Joan.
Yes.
Janita.
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
Having nothing else on my nice little agenda, just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second it.
All in favor?
All right. Call roll. Do we need to do that for adjourn? We're done.
She has to call roll.
I know, I'm waiting on it.
She's still writing. Thank you.
You do need to call roll.
Mark,
Yes.
Patty. Yes. Joan.
She,
Joe and Janita.
I'm sorry, yes.
And Brian.
Yes.
Okay.
Want one copy signed?
Just to leave it with you.
Three.